Hey, folks, really appreciate your time. So excited to be here. We're talking about why should you work with SDV office systems. We've got two phenomenal people here with me. Adam's our general manager. Jen, she is our director of design. And we're going to jump into a bunch of different questions. It's going to be about, you know, working with an SDV OSB, the IDIQ, issues with design, issues with project management, around furnishings. We're going to jump into a lot of different topics. So I do believe outside of just learning how great we are, you're going to learn a lot of cool information as well that you can put to good use. So I'm going to throw it at you, Adam. First and foremost, you get to start the game here in one sentence. What problem does SDV office system solve for VA and DoD facilities?
Well, I think that we make it easy for them to work with us. It's often challenging to do any sort of procurement. There's a lot of boxes that need to be checked, and I think we check a lot of them. So, we have the experience required. We know the rules. We have a wide offering of products. We offer all the services, and we can do it all under one contract, and we're SDV OSB on top of it. And I think combining all those factors, it makes it a lot easier for VA or any government agency to work with us.
Excellent. Thanks, Adam. That was tight, concise. I love it. Now, Jen, you're a designer, right? You're going to walk into one of these facilities, right? And you should be showing them that you know that what they don't know. So when you walk into a facility, what are some of the 2 or 3 things you see that people are missing?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess when I walk into, let's say, a VA facility, I am looking to see if the veterans are feeling comfortable or they just kind of parked in place, I would guess. So looking for, are they physically comfortable? Is there chairs for just rather than just standard guest chairs? Is there hip chairs that have higher arms that they're able to push off when they stand up? Is there bariatric chairs? Another thing is, how's the spacing? You don't want to be on top of each other, right? Or shoulder to shoulder. So we want to make sure that there's enough space, personal space between each of the veterans. And then other things like lighting, right? Is the chairs faced maybe towards the window, so from natural light and things like that. And one last thing is, I would say finishes. Make sure finishes are comfortable and not institutional. Calming, makes them relaxed and keeps them at ease while they are in a waiting room.
Great. We're going to talk about the differences between decoration and design coming up here too, and the criticality of some of those things that you were just talking about. I love that. So let's talk about our mission and differentiators now. We're going to throw it over to Adam. So Adam, what makes SDV, what makes us different from a traditional furniture dealer, installer, a traditional SDV OSB? What makes us different?
Well, I think it's really our focus, right? We have been built from the ground up to serve vets in the federal marketplace. And so everything we've done has that objective in mind. And so, we have 9 designers on our staff. Jen leads them. And, their experience with VA, their experience with federal entities. We have our contracting expert, Mark, that can help us with any questions and help us guide through and make sure we're compliant and the solicitations, make sense and work for both sides. And we have, a large catalog of manufacturers just really trying to do our best to provide what the designers or the end users need. And I think all those things combined just make us a little bit different when it comes to purchasing furniture.
I love that. And that's great. I mean, the strong team, the investment in that team, the investment in expertise. I mean, you're not going to get that with any old SDV, that's for sure.
With the vets in mind. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, with the vets in mind. So we talked about our 9 designers, Jen. So what does design mean in your world? Is it pretty spaces, decorations, or is it operational outcomes? What is it?
So a lot of people, I think, confuse the difference between decorating and design, right?
Mhm.
We are actually not interior decorators. We are interior designers that actually have a mission. So we're mission driven. The goal is to make environments that work better for people who rely on them every day. So, for example, patient flow. So when you're walking into a hospital, let's say a VA hospital, we want to make sure that the signage is available and easy for people to read to whatever location that they're looking for. The furniture, we want the furniture to be durable. We want it to not look tired over the years. These, because they're going to have a lot of heavy use, right? So we want to intentionally make sure that the furniture has a good warranty, can hold up over time. Of course, physical safety and ease, getting in and out of the chairs. Again, going off of what I said originally was hip chairs, bariatric chairs, things that just make them more comfortable. And then we want to make sure that they're safe also at the same time. We also intentionally put tables throughout so they can put their personal items on them too. So they're not always clutching it and can't function. And then we also talk about infection and cleanability.
That's amazing. That's a very important issue.
Yeah. And obviously it's become very, very important over the last 6 years or so, but we want to make sure that it's cleanable by the staff, and it has good infection control. So there are items out there that we can even get some copper, and some things that definitely will help with the situation. So
good signage, right? So people know where the heck they're going.
Yep.
Good flow for the patient, all that good stuff. I mean, it's a lot more than people realize.
A lot more. And that's just touching upon it. Like, again, going back to decorating, definitely we'll put the finishing touches on it. They want some plants or some different lighting or some artwork. We're happy to do that also, but it all goes hand in hand.
Dogs playing poker? Can I get that?
Yes, absolutely. Whatever you want.
I love that.
Yeah.
Excellent. It's so incredibly important to, just the idea of making sure that you watch out for infection now and diseases, COVID, and all that stuff that, we've all had to deal with over the last 4, 5, 6 years. So, Adam, you mentioned that we're an SDV OSB. Tell us what that is, and then tell us how that translates into practical advantages for agencies and partners alike.
Yeah, so SDV OSB stands for Service Disabled Veteran Owned Small Business. And VA in particular is looking to partner with SDV OSBs wherever they can. And so when we're working with VA, that's first and foremost out of the blocks, we're an SDV OSB, so they want to work with us. And that can be a strategic advantage when partnering with us if you're a dealer or a manufacturer. And in fact, that's why a lot of folks do like to work with SDV office.
The nice thing about it too is we're in, we can make things easy, the whole acquisition simplified, right?
Yeah, and it's comes back to vet serving vets on top of it. So
that's right. That's a big one as well. There's no doubt about that. So then we're going to get into this IDIQ thing, and we've got more acronyms, right? But it wouldn't be the government without acronyms. We love those things. So Adam, we need you to demystify this. What does it mean that you're on the VA IDIQ? What should a designer or even a facility lead care? Why? What's the beginning on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of folks that are listening are probably pretty familiar with IDIQ, but just to take it back to its very roots, the interior design team at VA used their skills and expertise to develop a set of standards for furniture in their facilities. And those standards are super important because they ensure the best quality of care for the vets at each one of the facilities. You can't just put whatever furniture you want to in a VA facility. And those standards are really a giant list of all the furniture that the VA could need at each facility and the manufacturer's technical requirements associated with every single one. And so then what happened was the designers and the Strategic Acquisition Center took the standards and this giant list of MTRs and used it as the basis for a national contract for all the VA facilities to procure furniture. And then, that contract now ensures that those standards are being met. So the level of care for the vets, specifically with furniture in mind, is raised. It's at a level that is necessary. And the other thing about it too is through that process, they're negotiating the best available price. So now you have a high level of standards to provide our vets with the best environments for healing at the best prices that you can get. So that's
no particle board chairs.
That's right.
Yeah, if I sit in one of those, then we're going to be in serious trouble. So one of the things I hear Jen talk about is that there's a misconception that it puts you in a box, right? There is ways you can adjust and update the IDIQ, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so you're not, just because you have the standard and it's consistent, if one of your designers want something, you can work with them to get in the next refresh, right?
Absolutely. We are more than happy to take down on any ideas or any suggestions of any new manufacturers or new products that they have found that they want to work with us in the future, or any other IDIQ holder in the future. So we're happy to think about that for them and help them put that on the IDIQ. Yeah.
It's freedom, and there is some freedom. There is some flexibility, but there's also some wonderful structure and wonderful trust that you can trust what's on that list of being high quality with a great place, as Adam was saying, which is awesome. So, Jen, where do these teams get stuck in this process? And how do you help them when they're where they're at, when they're stuck?
So I don't think it's the creativity part of it. I think they pretty much have a good idea of what they're trying to accomplish. I just think it's the translation, right? It's what they want. And how they describe it or how they communicate it to us. And I think we're really good of taking it apart and figuring out, okay, let's start with, do you have a budget? What is your budget? And also, is there a timeline? So those are like the first two questions I probably ask. And then from there, I kind of figure out, okay, what's going to probably work with those two restraints a little bit. Yep. I'm also going to find out if they have photos of the existing space. We can also take site measures and site visits to kind of draw the space if they don't have a floor plan or AutoCAD available. And then, of course, with all that, adding the IDIQ element to it, right? So we want to make sure that the furniture that is also selected not only has, manufactured with a quicker timeline, let's say, and let's say a medium price point, that it's on the IDIQ, right? And it's not something that's open market that they can't get. So yeah, we're really good at like piecing all those things together to make one complete package. And it really helps if we can do that, obviously, on the early end of things. So we can take
great. So floor plan, standards, photos, budget. These are all some hard, critical, foundational elements that you want to be getting your hands on and helping them.
The more information, the better, right? Like it doesn't matter how the information gets to me. It's just if we can get the information, we can figure out what we can do best for them. Mm-hmm. So, and
isn't even our one of our designers helping us with our own office space design too?
Exactly.
We we use our services. We don't just sell it out.
That's a great job.
Yeah, she is. She's amazing. All right, Adam. All right. So if someone is watching this and thinking, I need furniture for a clinic upgrade, what are the first 3 steps? We don't need to do 3 steps. What are the first things you want them thinking about, regardless of project size?
Yeah, I think I just want to start out by recognizing how stressed the current environment is at a lot of the VAs. Mm-hmm. Interior designers, a lot of them have left, and the ones that remain are under a lot of stress. Same with contracting. And so we're just want to make everybody aware that we are here to help out, right? If you're planning a project and you don't know where to start, or don't start from scratch, just reach out to us, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the first step, and we can use our robust design team to help plan your project out. We have, Deb on our team who's from VA, and she's extremely familiar with what's required under a VA contract. We can help with design, we can help with scope, we can help with budgetary pricing. So, there's 100 things on a designer's plate that they're trying to work on. Just don't feel like you're alone. We're a resource for you. Reach out and we can help get that process started. I think that's really the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. I think some people don't realize that this is part of our service. We're not charging extra for that upfront work and support. I mean, we're here to serve, and ultimately it's about getting you the stuff you need, not about the services to plan for it.
Yeah, it's about planning for putting that package together. Exactly.
That's
so
right.
that they can submit it to contracting and get it solicited.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of power behind that, which I think, there's a lot of benefit there for sure. So now on to an interesting topic, right? And this is an important topic, right? I'm in Boise, Idaho. I'm a designer at the VA, and I got my installers I like. I got my dealers I like,
Yeah.
And I want to work with those folks. So Adam, tell us, well, dealers might sometimes worry about this end-to-end firm concept about who we are. Do we compete? How does this work? So tell us, how do we work with dealers easily and effectively? What's going on there?
Yeah, that's a real thing in the marketplace. A lot of SDV OSBs or IDIQ contract holders don't necessarily embrace the dealer network like we do. And, so they tend to work around them sometimes for whatever margin, lead time, manufacturer reasons. But we really saw straight from the get-go, all the way back with Mike, one of our founders, he recognized right away that the dealer has a ton of value to play in this process, right? You can't, having the best outcome for a vet in a project really is required to have a dealer involved. And, they're the experts on the furniture lines that they represent. They're local, their installers are professional. A lot of times they know the facilities. There's a warehouse to receive things at locally. Yep. Designers are familiar with working with a lot of them. And so we've really, they're a critical part of a successful project with VA.
Yeah, I truly see that from, my point of view, seeing how much you leverage and appreciate that dealer and installer network. And the designers should see that too, so they can get choice. Now, Jen, you got a lot of people to deal with.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on here. Dealers, installers in different cities, the designers, at the facility itself, our team. How do you do this? How do you juggle?
So I actually encourage working with dealers. I think they're a huge part of the teamwork that we all have to get, the VA and the veterans exactly what they're looking for. Again, we may not be in that area, but a dealer has the VA in their backyard, and they've done some, site work, or they've brought in some chairs or a mock-up of some workstations, things like that. And we want to make sure that the VA gets what they want. So, and I'm here for it. So if that means, working with a dealer or working with a local installer that knows the VA really, really well, we welcome that. And I guess it's just communication, right? Like, let us know, who you're working with, or even with the dealer side, let us know that you have been working on a project, so we can kind of make the solicitation process go really seamless, and, get your numbers and get your information on everything you worked on, so we can put it through to contracting for you, because, it's all teamwork here, and it's a win-win for all of us when we work together.
Yeah, this really starts showing the value over and above just trying to push some paper around. That can be a very poor mindset that folks have about SDV OSBs. Now, Adam, you said we can make it easy for them to use their designers and their installers. So how does that work in practice? Do we call the installer up directly for them? Do they contact us to the installer? And how does your team interact with those folks?
Yeah, I mean, to Jen's point, certainly knowing who that is crucial, but, we're super experienced in that. And so if there's something specific that's been asked for on a solicitation, Jen and her team know who likely has worked on that already. But I think really the biggest thing comes down to a lot of what we talked about initially is it's just easy to work with us because we check a lot of the boxes that are necessary, right? The contract vehicles that we hold, the catalog that we have, contracting knowledge, our design, our project management skills and expertise. I mean, we have designers working on a project from beginning to end. That's how we set it up. And it's been really, really successful. It's a good business model. And we have a lot of past performance to show it, bid templates. There's just so much that we can help out with in any project.
A lot of past performance. Jen has a lot of things that she has worked on. And with that, we got to go to story time. Jen, you love story time, right?
Does that mean I'm old, David, that I've worked on a lot of projects?
You're not old, Jen. You're just experienced.
I am.
You started when you were 10.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. That's what I wanted to do at 10 years old.
So tell us a quick before and after story. Just give us some perspectives about spaces that might have been, going down the wrong path, and you and the team had to come in and really help change direction and get it back going.
There wasn't one that really, I would say there's different parts of projects that kind of stand out to me. And I wouldn't say one total project stands out. I think everything that we've worked on, there was something that we maybe try to improve or we try to recommend. Mm-hmm. I know some of the projects that I worked on, let's just say as simple as the fabrics kind of didn't work next to each other. So we brought it to the designer's attention at the VA and let them know, this isn't, after you put all these chairs together, this doesn't work, or maybe it's just flow, right? Or the spacing doesn't work. So we kind of redesign the spacing a little bit. Other experiences I've had was making spaces welcoming when you walk in. I had a DOD project for a recruiting office, and they want to make a great grand impression, right? When you're going into a recruiting office with the family, and kind of turned up the volume a little bit with finishes, made them a little more high end, but making patient rooms comfortable for the patient and the guests. So there's just a bunch. I could go on and on about different little stories.
Well, I love the fact that you got the practitioner, you have the guest, and you have the patient that might be in that room, and each one has specific needs.
So you got to think about everybody.
Yeah. I mean, that's the tough part about your guys' job. You have to think about a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. Devil's in that detail for sure. And that experience you folks bring to the table helps really be able to understand that detail. So Adam, I think you're going to talk about a couple of fun things here. Not fun things, but things that might agitate a little bit. So from a project management standpoint, what are the top 3 risks that you see that derail these projects big time?
I mean, I think the most difficult challenge that we face on any large project is construction-related delays. Mm-hmm. A lot of the projects are associated with construction at an existing facility or building out a new facility. And it's very hard to time the furniture with the completion of the project, right? Because designers have their budget for a specific fiscal year, and they want to get the furniture ordered underneath that budget and then try and time it with the activation of the facility or the space that's opening up. And it can be super tricky. I don't know that there's a single project that we've worked on where construction has been on schedule, right? There's always delays associated with it. And so the biggest thing that we try and do is just work with the designer and the core to anticipate that from happening. And one of the biggest areas that we see, or things that I prefer to avoid if at all possible, is of shipping direct to site. Mm-hmm. It is definitely the cheapest way to purchase furniture, but it's often causes a lot of problems because you're shipping something to site and now the site's not ready and you have to divert the shipment elsewhere. And when you're moving it midway through the project, it's a lot more expensive than if you had just planned it in from the beginning. And so we try and encourage everybody to, ship it to the local dealer, allow them some time to open and inspect it. That shortens the punch window. And then, include some storage in the SOW as well. That buys you some time in case something does go wrong, or at least you're aware of what the storage cost is if it ends up being a lengthy delay. So that construction is really, really the biggest one. But as long as you're thoughtful with it, we do a nice job of handling or pivoting when those things happen.
There's also a challenge around, is it customer owned material? What's that called again?
Oh, yeah.
COM.
Yeah, I mean, COM is, oh my gosh, the bane of my existence when it comes to.
There you go. Now you're telling them the real deal.
Yeah, I can't stand it. I get it.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic, and a designer has a vision for what something what they want it to look like. Yeah. But my goodness, does it cause problems on the back end? It just. So they can't, and Jen can provide a lot of detail associated with this, but they can't start the manufacturing lead time until they receive the actual COM fabric. And then the COM fabric is often limited in what's available. So sometimes the COM manufacturer is making it or ordering it from whoever their supplier is. And then you got to make sure that the pattern is right and you've ordered enough feet. And it just really, really lengthens the time any contract when there's a COM on it. It's
a lot of potholes, a lot of things could happen, right, Jen? I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah, I think with COMs that I think we need to make sure on, if I had any advice to give, it would be to investigate lead times, right? First, if you're looking to do fabrics that are a little more fancier than the manufacturers that have graded in, but honestly, there's a ton of fabrics that the manufacturers have graded in now. And I think it's maybe just knowing where to look those up or knowing that you can get samples of those rather than going straight to a COM. But kind of figuring out, what are we looking at lead times? If you have a short time frame of getting a project done, that's probably not the way to go. And we can help you with that. And I think, like Adam was saying, I think that there's miscommunication about, as long as we're sitting in line of production, that's fine that the COM can come in, right? And it's not like that. You go right back to the end of the line and then you start waiting for production. So it makes the manufacturer's time process a lot longer. And if there's other manufacturers that ship a lot quicker on a project, we have to figure out how that's going to time out for installation. Is that an additional trip, right? Or are we just all going to wait till everything comes in? So that's something I would research definitely from the beginning, lead times for sure. We can help with that.
That makes me nervous just hearing you say it. I'm like, the moving parts. And then one other risk thing you mentioned is continuity, like people move from projects that cause a lot of challenges. You want to give a comment on that?
Yeah. One of the things that we've been running into a lot lately that really lengthens the duration of a contract is continuity. We've had a lot of instances where a designer has spent a ton of time putting a package together, and it got solicited, it got awarded, and then they end up leaving in the middle of it. Same thing with contracting. And it's very difficult to pick up a project, especially if it's large, especially if it's construction related in the middle of it. And, the designers at VA do a great job, but that's putting them in a very difficult scenario when that occurs. And it just, it causes lengthy delays, causes difficulties, especially if there's some sort of change in scope that's occurred. And so that is one thing that really complicates or lengthens that process of project completion.
Can we help with some continuity as part of our role a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think the tighter the SOW is from the get-go, the more clearly it's defined, the simpler it is when that transition occurs. And don't get me wrong, I understand there's never going to be a scenario where it's perfect in that way. So the more you can anticipate some of those things up front, include it right in the scope, be very detailed, include drawings, all of those fundamental things. If those are in there, that definitely eases the transition for the new designer taking the project over to figure out exactly what they're supposed to be doing to get this completed.
All right, we got time for a couple lightning questions, lightning ones. One, Jen, on the underrated space in healthcare facilities that deserves more attention.
So I would say, I guess it's kind of a tie between behavioral health. I think we are seeing a lot of solicitations and a lot more behavioral health, but I think that's super, super important lately. Just making sure that they have the right furniture in the right spaces for them. And also, I think patient rooms, right? Like you said earlier, it's not just for the patient itself, but is it for the practitioner? Make sure that they can move around freely, do their things along with nurses. And also, for their guest who's ever staying overnight, is, the sofa that turns into a bed long enough? Is it comfortable enough? Is there enough chairs? And there's things that we can do to make sure that those things are covered. But I would say definitely those two things.
Excellent. Adam, I'll throw this one at you. One furnishing choice people make that you wish they'd stop immediately.
I mean, we already touched on COM, so that's probably the biggest one. But anything that lengthens the process of solicitation. So even specials too. Certainly, sometimes they're required. I get that a piece of furniture might not fit in a specific space, or you need to do something for some reason, and so not trying to discourage that in any way, but at the same point in time, it really lengthens the process of the contract, doubles the lead time. In fact, sometimes it's a lot longer than that because there's another process associated with finalizing the special design for sign off. And so a lot of that just adds time where it may not be necessary. And so Jen and her team do a really nice job of saying, okay, hey, I know this isn't exactly what you were looking for, but there are some other options that can work for this space before you end up adding another 12 weeks onto a project inadvertently by putting a special on there.
Well, I really appreciate both of your time. This has been a great conversation. Not just, some stuff about us and how great we are, but some really true good information for design professionals and people in facilities to learn more about what they should be concerned about. Adam, Jen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.